Patlo tu madu le tinu ave pebi inga tatu tama lang ya mese fo ia le ko tamam kina ma tu tua o le fo fana wiki la tolo pa ponga mai i penga tu fa ilang po fe la ba no tlo po fa ponga mai el ta po kala ni tu sa wa tu mai na che America wa po si le fe melo tu punet nu e a fieta tangata ya mese fo Samoa o ona ile ne fo ia tu nu po ta tua dele yai ia le sua papele o Samoa ile nei ko i vaenga o le langi e va toi foi fatai i le fiunga ia titia me lan tau tua me se fo le radio Samoa ile nei ko i vaenga o le taiao e va tara fa toi ia i nei taiao ia la fa ia tu sin na fam talang pupu se tasi o alo le tunu ia po tama fo i Samoa o le fa tanoina o le tu malo fa lo nia ile nei taiao o lona suafa si le fia po le marula tunu o lona suafa o le lei tui Samoa le la ulu mai o leva fo i lana tautua i le ngata fo i New Zealand Samoa Australia ia ma le tu fo i tu ton sasae ia po le Middle East ia pa pena fo i ma le United States of America ia ma le United Nations po malo au fatasi le valen tautua sa fa tanuina fo steni o fano ai wa maua matapa fo i lona tangi ta o le taiao ona o le firma ia le tu Samoa le la unu o le o tu ina tu ne non chuafa o be nominee for nomination e tu tonu o le lua fe lua fulima Nobel Peace Prize tu sai to se la to sulbalu la to wa tamonuina ma o tu ato la tu suafa o la to nei ai tu sana o le lua salau fa sulfa tangata sai to tasi individuals o tu ato la tu suafa i tonu o le foi a filfilinga taua la ia ai tu sana o le iba sulfa ia organizations po society e wa lautongia fo i le lio tu na to la tu sua fo i ton mo le feelinga mo le lua fe lima Nobel Peace Prize te lo fo i le posili lo fo i malu le tunu Nobel Peace Prize ya se van fo i o Sweden po Sweden le o fa ngalu inai le fo i fa i longa ta wa lang ya fiai ya malo ese ya me se foi ya tapenanga o bom tau pues ese anga e numa soi fuanga le tele lang ya ai wila ya tu ya ile pianga ya le tu Samoa la u mo se sangwanga amatai fatala fatu ile pianga le
well Maro so for thank you for being in touch Ken. It's nice to talk to you again and to radio Samoa and Radio New Zealand for giving me some time on their wonderful stations. It's good to be here.
Yeah. Ala fa tai ole na fa menino sport mai le tunu o mata no ba yang piong fa le tu Samoa la ulu ya o sa no mai ma pe me sita no ngai ni ta o i the state of Washington ya no inga po telele se sengo ta tu tai mi wile pamaro tu i lo fiunga le mo le foi fa i longa taua wa ye lo swa fa i tonu fo le di o taua de le
oh yeah Taylor it's a great honor and it's a bit overwhelming but to get used to but it is certainly a thrill to be one of the many people nominated for this very distinguished award. So, just being in the company of all these people is a great honor for me, and it's nice to be among them.
If I don't know, this prize, the honor, started from 1901. Whatever telenator sang tasiba otas. So, fuwa tu tala anga po Samoa, iyo tu le. Tau sanga le tu sa atasi, tau sanga talon na sisil tanga vai Amerika, United States of America, tonu tu tuila mamanua. Whatever telenator. te le la nga bun te fo I le ba nga la e fia ni tu lu la la ni we nga due ai lo fio nga le
o kire lo le later but there is a club called the Century Club in New York, and whenever you've been to 100 countries, they give you a nice big kogai, and so I had my Century Club kogai back in 1992, I think it was, and then I haven't really counted since then. So I figured, over 100. It's a lot of places, a lot of airports.
Yeah. O totelo o tupulanga le lo fa fonga mai ia e so I for by time na so for mai but just a short biographical look back ile nu na fa na wai ma o matua ma time na mata mai wa Tunisia.
Yeah, I was born in Mototua, from Mototua, in APR. I was in Bota, but my Taiwai, or La non tui Samoa, Papa, Paloli, Kinga, or in Noa, Le Awanai, to my Eva. So that's my background. And also very, very strong Tui Samoa family. Makuain Samoa is from Vavai in Falali. And from there, of course, we went to New Zealand when we were very small. I was only 6. And then Makua Ongamela, Okilangi, and University of Okilangi. And then I went to Wellington, Makafa and Ama, Ufangaluanga, Radio New Zealand, Proclamalega, or Checkpoint. A little bit of TV, and Makora, Asia, as foreign correspondent, and then Makora, Europa, Kania, and then I went to work as a foreign correspondent in the Middle East, in Alapi, Africa, and then I went to the Fakasi, the United Nations, where it was very important for me to be at the United Nations because thinking back, my vaccinations were from the UN World Health Organization. We got support from the UN Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, and then we looked at other things like transportation, like everything in my life had a connection to the United Nations, to Malo Fakasi. So that's when I thought I should give a bit back and work for the United Nations. And so I did for several years, working in the Kioma TV, and then I moved on to the organization of the very large conferences and summits that are the UN system for everything from, social development, industrial development, environmental protection, and then also sustainable development of the small island states. And from there, I to work with a non-governmental organization, the NGO. So we were the largest American NGO in former communist countries, Russia, and then Kazakhstan, Ukraine, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, Central Asia. And then from there, I started working also in Central America, South America, Africa. So it's been a long, big ride. So, but it's been very useful, and the fact that being a Samoan made things a lot easier because a lot of the things we had to deal with were conflicts, Misa, Makanaka. So I kept thinking back to the way that we dealt with things in Samoa. It's always, we talk and we discuss things, and then we reach a conclusion in Mali or Makanaka, and then things are all is covered. And for the really serious stuff, which involves loss of life and other major losses of property, I always kept thinking of the kako ifonga because this is something which is unique to Samoa, and I think it's a wonderful way that Samoans, would discuss and reach consensus, and that there'd be truth, and then there'd be reconciliation, and then there was justice as well, so that all parties were taken care of. And I kept thinking about the Ifonga when I was dealing with conflicts in these different countries. And, it really works, because Samoans have a tremendous history of talanoa and just sitting down and discussing everything to its minutest form. And then the Samoans, they have a great sense of humor, so they use a lot of humor in the negotiation. So this disarms people. It makes them feel more relaxed, and they don't get so uptight for too long. So that combination of discussion, kalangolelei, and listening, kalangolelei to the other side, and then humor added with it, and then more lolokongo, and then everybody's more or less happy. That's what I always thought of when I was dealing with peacemaking and trying to peacekeep in different parts of the world. And for the most part, it worked very well.
Mm-hmm. Looking back at your vast experience, I remember the Mantoina, you were the first Samoan a reporter on CNN. I'm not sure whether it was in the 80s or the 90s. And then when I saw you at the United Nations, weren't you the very first Samoan who worked in the media department of the United Nations? I mean, it's a global organization.
Yeah, I think I was the first Samoan to be on camera at CNN and at the United Nations. I think I was the first. Samoan professional, maybe the first Polynesian professional to work at the United Nations, and certainly in radio and TV. But it was a long time ago. Now people weren't really looking at the United Nations as a likely place for work. But I think since that time, they've seen the value of the UN system, and they know that even though they're from a small country, they can contribute a lot to the work of the United Nations. Because I've always said that it's not the quality of the advice is not determined by the size of the advice giver. So sometimes the best advice comes from the smallest advice giver. And we in small countries, especially Samoa and Pacific Islands, we have a lot of experience in many, many different areas which can be applied to much, much larger situations involving much larger countries. And we've proven that, first of all, we've proven over the years that we can stand up, arm to arm against some of the biggest powers in the world. I mean, think of Mataafa beating a combined force of American and British military, and Mataafa beating them a couple of times. This is unbelievable. And the thing is that was the first time Britain and America ever combined for militarily, because, there's the history of independence of the Americans from the British, left bad blood. But they got together to fight Samoans, and they lost a couple of times. So therefore, on the military side, no one can look down on us. And then also looking at the quality of our language, and the way Samoans frame things, the way Samoans present things, that's pretty hard to match. And then also, our Samoa and our very complex way of dealing with things, our with bangers and all the things, and the way that we connect genealogy through to history, real history, emotional history, and then use that to deal with issues of modern times and how it applies to land. I always remember that in Samoa, one of the most commonly listened to programs on 2AP, the only radio station at the time, was the live broadcast from the Land and Titles Court in Molinu. So this is because Samoans were fascinated by how their swafas and their land, and their genealogies all combined to make them what modern Samoa was at the time. And I think it's still very much that. We have a lot that we can offer in terms of solid, functioning, cultural, societal systems, which many other countries can benefit from. And it's not because we are among the smallest countries that ever speak. And Samoan ambassadors and ambassadors also from other South Pacific countries, they've done an awful lot in the United Nations system to point people's attention to the biggest issues facing the planet. Now, climate change, it was the Alliance of Small Island States. They were the ones that really pushed to have climate change on the global agenda. And it was against some of the most powerful countries on Earth, but yet these small island countries, they got it done. Again, because they were smart, they were bright, they could collaborate and cooperate, and they could work out the words that would present the difficulties facing the world through climate change. So, we can do an awful lot. And if you look at our elite athletes, look at the way they have changed the face of modern rugby league, and even the changing faces of American football. It's our people can get things done quietly but well, and this is a huge source of strength and encouragement for people like me.
I have like a minute left. I'm not sure whether Namuna Udulawaki Mamoy was nominated for Peace Prize, but are you the only one and the first Samoan to be nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize?
I really don't know. I haven't looked at it properly, but, I can think of a few Samoans, including Lawaki and others, who could have been and who should have been nominated. Our people have much to give to the world, especially in terms of peace.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Let me give you these final moments and seconds for you to say some last final thoughts.
I'd just like to thank all my Ainga and my friends in Samoa and Sila, my singles for all the support and the sustenance and the alofa that they have given me and I've benefited from in my years on this planet. Yeah, Taylor.
Alofa Taylor by Samoa. Now we'll just interview the Samoan been nominated today for the 2025 Nobel Peace Prize. Lilay tui Samoa lao. Ya batul faktai ay puso pusala ni tu ya mangal mai ya ông na ai mo le nei tai sai fu